To all of our surprise, CNBC actually had a fantastic video sharing information about the Cybertruck. Today, we're going to have a C-level supply chain expert who's run factories and overseen manufacturing with us to explain this in more detail. And of course, it's our good friend, Jeff Lutz. He is a C-level executive and he just knows so much. And so this is exactly the kind of video I want him to react to and teach us a little bit more what he knows and experience. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, great to be with you, Robert.
Let's watch this video from CNBC. This was actually a very well done video. For once, we got a good one from them. So let's watch what they say.
An arduous road to production. Internal documents revealed how delayed the development of the truck was in 2022.
Tesla had planned to have this vehicle start production in 2021. That didn't happen. They have talked about the pandemic and wars that disrupted supply chain and more. That's legitimate, but they were also still working out kinks with how to manufacture this.
When we're reinventing a product, sometimes we have to go through these processes just to prove it out. We had this idea that making an exoskeleton vehicle could work, and so we've been using that time to make sure that that actually is working.
By June of 2022, Elon indicated that design was finally locked.
The design, at least, finally is locked. We got too carried away.
Nearly a year later, Tesla built its first Cybertruck at its Austin Gigafactory. The delays are no surprise. The new truck represents a major deviation from traditional automotive manufacturing processes.
This is more than 90% different, right? So that means you really have to reinvent the process. Actually, they did. They did a great job putting this together in such a short period of time. Say, automotive industry, traditionally, all the cars, no fundamental difference except style. The overall platform is essentially the same because they all borrow or learn from the past. So you don't have to reinvent new tooling and new assembly sequence.
So we actually had to come up with a special, ultra-strong, Tesla-designed steel alloy. This metal did not exist before. We needed something that you could actually manufacture, but have basically no corrosion, didn't need paint, but you can still make it in volume.
Their vice president of materials engineering, Charles Kuehmann, works for two Elon companies in this capacity. He works for SpaceX and Tesla, and they've collaborated on alloys before.
Steel isn't uncommon in automotive. It's frequently used in panels and frames as part of the vehicle's structure. But Tesla's custom ultra-hard stainless steel could have added some unique challenges.
Stainless steel is hard to work with. It's much, much, much harder than all of the grades of conventional steel, which is what the bulk of vehicles today are made out of, including Tesla's high-volume Model 3 and Model Y.
The presses that they needed were very unique presses, massive presses, and that is where a lot of the money would go. And you can't use these presses forever because they start to wear out.
But for automotive, using complete body panel with a stainless steel is a new concept.
Stainless steel in automotive has a brief history. Ford experimented with it in a few of its cars, but never put it into production. The DeLorean, first introduced in the mid-1970s and built from 1981 to 1982, was the first mass-produced vehicle with a stainless steel skin. The company went bankrupt after building fewer than 10,000 cars.
DeLorean used stainless steel. They at least went to the trouble of using brushed metals, but the fit and finish, they had incredible problems with that as well. And so you would think they would either learn from that it's not a good material to use, or they would find a better way to do it.
Tesla's VP of Vehicle Engineering said that Tesla had to invent a manufacturing process called air bending, which shapes the steel with high air pressure without actually touching the surface.
When you bend a piece of metal, you want to maintain certain shape, and the stainless steel tend to be more unpredictable than traditional steel. And if you get into higher strength level, that tend to be amplified.
When they produce the panel, it will actually press it further than where it has to go because the steel will spring back. Sometimes it's this much, sometimes it's that much. So you never know, and that's where you can get these quality issues.
And the thickness, which Musk has used to promote the Cybertruck as bulletproof, only further complicates things.
Typically, automotive body panel, for passenger cars, you're talking about in the millimeter range. From the limited information I have, we are talking about for the Cybertruck is a 3 millimeter. That's a factor of 9 in terms of stiffness. So definitely you need a lot more force and bigger press to do it.
The flat and angular design is another issue, especially with regard to mass production.
We'll pause it there. So a couple of comments. First of all, this research division of CNBC, at least they just do research and they report. Looks great. Versus the talking heads, they sometimes say things that are completely just unbelievable. Just not backed on any data at all. But I didn't realize that these guys have spent the entire time talking about just this deal, and that was it. And there's so many innovations on that Cybertruck. The technology to build the Cybertruck is going to be carried forward in next generation and all new vehicles likely. So we should do a deep dive on that in the future. But what's your comment when you saw this particular clip at this point?
Yeah, it is better material than what CNBC normally produces. But what I found interesting is that CNBC made a video about the production schedule and delay and so forth. I don't see them making the same video for a Rivian or for a Ford product or other products. There's just this intense, it draws a tremendous amount of media attention if it's Tesla, if it's, there's Elon, there's Tesla, and there's Cybertruck. Right now, those three names are probably getting tremendous hits in terms of social media, in terms of media overall. So I found it interesting that they made this video on this product versus other products. One of the reasons is other products, there really isn't something overly special in them in terms of how they were constructed, how they were designed. That's one piece. The other piece is to your point, Herbert. There's so much more going on in the Cybertruck. So they want to kind of pick at the schedule, and it was going to be released here versus there. Obviously, we had the pandemic, but if you look at what's happening inside this, they had to not only what you're buying as a consumer is completely brand new, whether it's the communication architecture, whether it's the exoskeleton that you're sitting in, the software is brand new as well in terms of how that 48 volt communication and then steer by wire, just all the innovation that's inside of the vehicle, all the software is brand new. So think about it. You have brand new hardware, you have brand new software, you have brand new factory manufacturing techniques, you have brand new supplier manufacturing techniques to make a number of different things that are just brand new, never been done in the industry before. And what happens when you're building a program schedule to do that, you're going to have a higher amount of variation in terms of when those things are done. Again, when you're on the 70-year-old truck platform that every truck's been built off of, there's a lot. And by the way, they're not that much faster than Tesla in terms of designing a vehicle platform to what Tesla actually did here with the Cybertruck. But the amount of variation you're going to get when you're doing all those new things, you're doing them concurrently, will drive tremendous variation in the output of the schedule. I think that's why it's been very difficult. Remember, when Tesla's got to call, the Cybertruck launch, they've got to call it on a number of different vectors. They have a vector on just the schedule of producing one vehicle that is compliant, that a consumer can drive. Then you've got to call it from a volume perspective. You don't want to do a launch and then have no vehicles behind it. So you have to be the ability to go in volume scale. You've got to time the software drop. That's basically a symphony of everything that's new inside of that car. That software's got to be commercially viable and ready to go. And then the manufacturing capacity has to be online. The quality has to be there. So all these vectors have to align to call a product launch. And then when all the inputs to those vectors are basically brand new, is when you get this high amount of variation. But the other point you made I thought was really good. Tesla's going to do a tremendous amount of platforming off of this, whether it's the 48 volt architecture, whether it's the presses that are used to make the castings. And I think we're going to hear a little bit of a surprise here very soon. I think Tesla is platforming a lot, maybe some additional processes from the Model Y that in terms of not the actual dies themselves, but I think we're going to find is that there's a lot of reuse that's happening from current vehicles as well. Again, tremendous amount of new newness in this vehicle. I mean, it's off the charts in terms of how many new things, but I think Tesla's been able to grab a little bit more from current vehicles, and then they're going to be able to carry a lot of this to the future.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah, so let's see. Let's go through this a little bit. I want to do another show with you where we go deep dive, because your background in manufacturing and what you just talked about, the platforming, there's a lot there for you to unearth for us, and you've already shared a few there. And we're going to also cover Sandy Monroe's recent video that they just dropped this morning, where he actually had an interview with the 5 Tesla executives. So while the CNBC clip was great in terms of research, they only focused on a stainless steel, but they didn't talk about the 4680 batteries, the 48-volt architecture, the structural battery, the massive gigacastings. This isn't just regular gigacasting. These are bigger now, which can possibly lead to a single gigacasting. They didn't talk about the partial unibody, unboxed model system that they're putting into place. Dr. John Gibbs of Dr. Know-It-All just this weekend dropped a video that was fantastic. You guys should watch it. And he talked about how what you're saying, which is a lot of this technology that we just listed and more are platforming. And it's very likely it's going to be in the next gen platform. It's been something I've been saying for a while too. It makes no sense for Tesla to release a Cybertruck, amazing new tech platform, and not use it for the Gen 3. It just doesn't make sense. And what Dr. John Gibbs was saying was that maybe they'll use less thick, thinner stainless steel. Maybe they won't use steel, but everything else you just talked about, it's going to be there. So the difficulty in manufacturing for Tesla was massive for the Cybertruck, and that's why it was delayed. Forget the fact they didn't even talk about COVID. Supply chain issues. That was a 2-year issue. And so 4 years ago, that's when they announced it. But this is going to be a big deal for Tesla. So I want to dive deep with you on that. So appreciate it. Any last comments or thoughts?
Yeah, just one closing thought for the viewers is the platforming piece. I want to explain it in less than 30 seconds if I could. Not the whole thing of platforming, but just one piece I think that people may not be picking up on. If they can carry forward, let's say, the press that's used for the front camera, if there's something that they can carry forward or borrow from Model Y or carry forward to the 25K vehicle, what that does is that accelerates the capital depreciation. Basically, it takes the cost structure down of the Cybertruck faster, and it'll take it down faster than the rate of us depending on Cybertrucks to leave the factory. So I think there's some surprises in store of not only of what they can grab from, but what they can carry forward to future vehicles. And from a capital efficiency perspective, I think Tesla is going to shock a lot of people. And that, I don't think people are, when they're thinking about gross margins and they're looking forward, I don't think they're looking at Tesla. They think all these vehicle platforms are going to be brand new from the ground up. And I think Tesla's going to borrow and do a great job on capital efficiency. And that gets me very excited from a COGS perspective about what's possible. And it also accelerates the ramp of that next generation vehicle. And it allows them, the other thing, it allows them to interchange in the factory too. If they see more demand for Model Y, if they see more demand for one product for another, it allows them to change over much more quickly on their platform. So there's a lot of benefits to this. We can talk about it, in another video.
Love it, Jeff. Yeah, you've been pointing this out, which is fantastic. And 2 points you made about this next gen vehicle that I love. So your focus is, and you know this from experience, that volume reduces price. And in order for the next gen vehicle, which needs to be, affordable, needs to be under 25,000, in order for that to work, they need to have huge volumes. And so a couple points you pointed out there was they would need to build this locally. You can't have it all built in Texas and shipped internationally, because then you can't afford it because of the price is already low. And then in order for this to be to get the price down, they need to have mass volume. So this might ramp up a lot faster than we realize. Multiple factories might be in place. And then for them to do this, they need to take advantage of the work that they're doing with the Cybertruck, which is their test bed. So a lot of this is all about volume. And once they've perfected it, they'll get it going out there. So thank you, Jeff. Follow him on X at the Jeff Lutz. Thank you, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.